Yo, peace. We're back. So this shadow, I'm not strolling like I usually would. I'm gonna just walk this treadmill, get some momentum. The shadow I want to talk about. Roll back. All right, so this shadow, I want to talk about the power of intention. Something I've been talking with my team a lot about. Can you hear me now? I was muted for a second. My children decided to run outside, so I had to catch them. Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about the power of attention. Just walking on my little treadmill, this driveway, and yeah, it's something I've been talking with my team about a lot because one of my one of my guys asked me, and he's doing very well for himself, but he's one of those types that would always wants to kind of take it to the next step. He wants to be able to achieve things that other people couldn't dream of, and he has the mindset for it. He's very disciplined. He's very much the type of individual that can just lock in on a thing and just do it over and over and over and over again until he gets results. So I'm super proud of him for that because I saw where he came from, and I saw how he started literally from nothing. And we were going up through the trenches together, all that kind of stuff. I see him very much as a brother. But nonetheless, yesterday he asked me, he said, how, what is the secret to someone becoming successful regardless of anything? Like basically like successful beyond, regardless of any reasons or regardless of any means, any obstacles, anything like that, just getting it regardless. And I asked him kind of what his metrics were, like what was his KPIs, what was he actually measuring to determine what success is. And he told me what it is. And this particular brother, he's focused on a certain monetary goal because he's looking to build his business. Nothing wrong with that. So when he told me that metric, the dollar amount that he was aiming for, I told him honestly, I don't know because I haven't reached that specific dollar amount figure. But what I can say from my experience and just deducing from me studying other people who have reached such metrics, like I've been, good friends with people who are multimillionaires, and I've met billionaires and all these kind of things. And obviously, that's not the only metric to go by. There's people who can be very successful in other realms. That can be successful in influence, successful in impact, successful in the works that they put out. All these kind of things, right? When I look at all of these individuals, regardless of what arena they choose, is always a matter of how potent their intention is and how sharply they focus their intention. So, just looking in the arena of business, a couple people that he studies, um, you know, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, these kind of guys. He looks at what they do and or what they did business wise, and he tries to compare it. So I use that as a reference, and I said, okay, one thing, you can say what you want about Elon Musk or any of these people. One thing that all of them have in common, and even with other people who have been very successful in other realms, is that they are so focused on what they intend to do. They are so clear on their intentions that when they say a thing, they know it will come to pass. They know it will be true, right? And they're going to do everything they can to bridge that gap. And as I started talking, I was just kind of speaking from my studies and again, some of my experiences and stuff like that. And I was saying how the intention, when you have an idea in your mind that you're holding in your mind, it begins to form in what's called the fourth density. A lot of people call it like the fourth dimension, but they don't really know what the fuck they're talking about. So as this idea starts to take form, and you can even compare it to those like Wallace D. Wattles and the science of being great, or the science of being rich, or the science of being well. Three of the books that he wrote, he talks about these same principles, and he says there's a thinking substance from which all things are made that permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces in the universe. And a thought held in this substance is uh, basically comes to fruition by by means of the thought. A thought held in this substance becomes a thing, right? I'm kind of paraphrasing that second part of it. If you really, really pay close attention, especially those of you who studied, the greatest minds that have touched this earth, like those like Dr. Malachi Z. York, this echoes a lot of what he speaks about in the Mind Scroll, and it also seems very, very familiar as you start to kind of study these concepts with the concept of ether, right? And you'll, as you kind of look laterally across the field, you'll see that Neville Goddard was talking about the same thing. You'll see that Napoleon Hill was talking about the same thing. You'll see that all these thinkers who brought forth these ideas to their communities and whatnot, they're all kind of talking about the same thing. Bob Proctor, great contemporary teacher, recently passed. Um, that the concept is, if you hold the idea in your head long enough and you focus on it with intention, you apply feeling to it, and then you'd start taking action towards that idea, towards bringing that idea down to earth, down to reality, it will come to pass. It will come to be, right? This is what some would call alchemy. The key in this is the intention. The intention in itself, like without the intention, nothing else could really happen. So when I was talking to this young man, this brother, he, I was saying, honestly to him, I was like, honestly, I have to, you may not consider the things that you've achieved already to be very, incredible or anything like that, but I absolutely do, because I look at what your intention was and how you remain steadfast on it the whole time. Yes, that's intentional. I know you can't see me. You could just listen or not. So when when it came to like, him coming up from the ground and deciding he was going to go ahead and start this thing and, get to a certain milestone, he did it. And then I saw him do it over and over and over again. I saw him do it with building brands. I saw him doing it with getting his first sales in, and then got 1,000 sales. And then, it just on and on and on from there, changing his life as he was doing it. He started meditating. He started, studying more. He started, exercising more, all these kind of things. All of it compounds, especially when it's kind of focused on this single point, what I call one pointedness, just kind of having your mind on that one thing. It will all compound to basically make that intention, that idea, that original idea, more and more powerful. And then suddenly it's kind of like in the fourth density, it starts to sprout legs, and it sprouts biceps and arms, and it gets swole. And then it starts running towards the objective that you set your intention towards. And before you know it, you'll start stumbling across other ideas that are in alignment with the original idea, and these ideas will get you closer to achieving that thing. That's all from your intention, all from harnessing your intention. So what I kind of got down to, and he appreciated this particular perspective, and it kind of struck me as we were speaking. I said, okay, you can look at all the metrics all day long. You could look at, how much you make per day or per month, or how much you make per year, how many people you reach, etc. You can look at all these all day long. And yes, you can measure by those, but what about when it comes to scaling the unscalable? Intention is very difficult to figure out how to scale because it's hard to measure, but it can be measured because thoughts are things. Thoughts have weight, right? To a degree. Thoughts can be detected by certain machines and certain technologies. Some people can detect thoughts. That's what we call telepathy, right? So I said, okay, what if you find a way to measure your intention, and with that, then you find a way to multiply it, right? It might not be a linear path. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes there's other variables that pop into play. Sometimes there's other things that kind of come in motion. Sometimes things may slow you down. It might kind of be look like a crypto chart, or a stock chart where it goes up and down and up and down, and then it hits that moment where you get that boom, that big pop. You go on that bull run as far as your intent, as far as what you intended to do is concerned, and then you start winning and winning and winning and winning, right? What caused that exponential growth? Well, what caused that exponential growth was the things that were happening in the unseen, the things that were happening on, what they would call the fourth density, or the things that were happening that aren't as easy to measure because it has to do with these energies that are, surrounding these thought forms and such things. So I said, okay, what if you can go ahead and find a way to measure your intention, and then once you've found that measurement, once you got the formula for it, then you can go ahead and plug it into another formula and multiply it, or make it grow exponentially. How can you make your intention more powerful? How can you give it more weight? How can you make it move faster? How can you multiply your intention? Okay, maybe you can 10x your bank account, but can you 10x your intention? You might be able to 100x your bank account, but can you 100x your intention? I think there's something really profound within this particular exercise, because you might discover things about yourself, about the things that you can do, and about your capabilities that you didn't necessarily know were there. And that's kind of the beauty of this. That's the power of intention. So those of you that study, um, I would recommend, and this is something I'm going to dig back into as well, studying Dr. Malachi Z. York, The Mind Scroll. There's two versions of them. Pick whichever one you gravitate to. Dr. Malachi Z. York, The Holy Tablets, if you really want to get deep in it, because there's a whole chapter called The Mind. And, you can look into Neville Goddard, Feeling is the Secret. If you're trying to focus on like building a business or a brand or something like that, you can look into things like Wallace D. Waddles, The Science of Getting Rich, The Science of Being Great, all these kind of things. There's many different sources, but what you really have to do is you have to study these things and then put them to the test. Hold it up to the light. Another book that I'm rereading right now is Relentless. I'm rereading it with my wife because I think it was very powerful with certain types of people like myself who who really like to kind of sweep through a bunch of different arenas or like to really get into the flow state when it comes to a certain thing I'm doing. I think it's very powerful. So study and then bring that back to center, hold it up to the light, and test it. Right? It's the scientific method, really. Question data or question hypothesis, experiment, collect your data analysis, conclusion. Draw your conclusion based off of that. And then go out and test it again or go out and test something else. But all of these things you do hold in the same intention. You'll be amazed at what you can do. I've been in a lot of different arenas and I've been great at a lot of different things. There's some things I'm not so great at. That's fine. But the question is, what are you great at? And the even more important question is, what can you be great at if you apply your intention? I do as I should. That's divine love. Oh, make sure you subscribe. Round Robin music video is out now. Mileage album coming out this month. Produce I should. That's divine love. Peace.